Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. And as you guys know, I'm Mrs. Tanner from the Career Center, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. I also want to let you know that we're live streaming this with Bret Harte High School at the same time, so we also want to welcome their students to this presentation. And today you guys are here to learn information about exploring careers in welding, electrical technology, and also industrial machining. And so we have some guest speakers here that are going to be talking with you today. If you have questions throughout the presentation, you're going to be able to ask those questions. Feel free to raise your hand at any time. And the students at Bret Harte, I believe they're going to be able to send some emails in with some questions, and we'll read those as well. Okay? All right, guys. I have to put my glasses on because I can't see. I'm an old lady. All right, so today we are very happy to have with us some folks from MJC, Modesto Junior College. And today with us we have the Dean of Career and Technical Education Training and Community Education and Workforce Development, Mr. Pedro Mendez. We also have with us the Modesto Junior College welding instructor, Manuel Cunha. And also helping us in the back of the room with some questions and questions from Bret Harte. If you send us a few questions, we are going to have Debbie Strand. She's the communication coordinator from the County Office of Education. She's right up here. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our guests. And if you have questions, like I said, you can raise your hand at any time.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for having us here to present to you. I'm hoping that this afternoon you'll be able to ask questions. The intent of the presentation is for you to get information about the engineering industrial trade space. And I would look at that space as a very large space. You know, whether you're thinking about going to a community college, whether you're thinking about going to a university, it's a good opportunity for you to ask questions. Kind of get a sense, is this for me? Is this for me? So, as was mentioned, I'm the Dean of Career Education and Workforce Development at Modesto Junior College. I've been out there for going on my 27th year. And we spend a lot of time working with students moving into this space in terms of design, build, maintenance, getting things done. So if that has normally called to you in terms of things you like to do, if you like to tinker around the house, if you like to explore around tearing things apart, putting them together, normally this space is the space that is where we're finding our students have in common in terms of having passion for the industry. And it is all about passion. At the end of the day, as you move on to decide what your next step is, it's do I have an interest in it? Much like how many of you are playing sports? You know, why are you electing to play sports and why are you practicing? You know, and it's not always a fun thing to train. In very similar manners, when you're moving into our field, you're developing skills and knowledge to become good at that particular space. And that skill and knowledge transfers to value add. And what you'll find is whether it's the transportation industry, whether it's the manufacturing industry, whether it's power and utility industry, whether it's energy conservation and the different technologies that are happening out there, if you become good at that space, then that commands kind of a feel for it. What I'd like to say is as we get going, if you do have questions, feel free to ask, raise your hand and ask the questions and we'll answer them as we go along. Sure. This is the CTE presentation. Perfect. So with that, a little bit about Modesto Junior College. Modesto Junior College serves about 25,000 students a year. And of those 25,000, about 1,800 students are in this space, meaning they're either studying welding with Mr. Kuna and Mr. Turner at our school. They're in the industrial electronics space. They're in the information computer technology space or in transportation. Today, we're going to kind of focus a little bit more about what does it mean to pursue a degree in engineering, pursue a degree in industrial electronics, or machine tool technology, manufacturing, or welding. And that's going to be kind of our presentation. So what is career education? When you move into post-secondary education, you'll find that your schooling will be divided. If you choose to go on to a university or a college, you'll find that your education will be divided into two different slices. What you're selecting to study and general education requirements. So no matter what university or what college you pursue, you'll have your general education that'll be common. That'll be your English, your math, your social sciences, your history classes. But your major or your discipline will be that you're electing to pursue. So you normally go into a school and you say, okay, I'm interested in this space, and this is the specific area that I want to study in. And then about half of your courses are focused on that specific area. The other half are focused on your general education requirements. So this is how we separate out between a transfer degree, a certificate, and a skills recognition. So the reason that is important within a community college system is if you elect to pursue a certificate or a skills recognition, you're focused solely on your discipline. So a certificate in welding, which Mr. Kuna would be the classes only involved in the welding program. A certificate in computer electronics would solely focus on computer classes. A certificate in industrial electronics would solely expose you to that. So that's kind of your first level. Your next level, if you go into an AS degree, would add the general requirements to it. So then you're taking math, English, the history, and so forth. A degree is needed for you to move on to a 4-year. So that's kind of these spaces. So I just want to kind of demystify a bit if you have questions about how universities or community colleges work. They're usually split around the same logic model. So at Modesto, here we go, it goes slowly. At Modesto, we have a variety of particular fields in career education. We have engineering and industrial trade, which we'll be talking about today. We have agriculture. We have allied health. We have business and behavioral sciences. And then we have science, mathematics, and engineering. And so and within those, we have a variety of different careers that you can pursue. So as you can see that engineering and industrial trades fall into two different families. And that's because of the variety of different requirements that you have. Questions so far? You guys good? Stop me. Okay. And again, this is a breakdown of the university transfers, the general education, the CTE courses, and where it leads to. Throughout the degree, here's the one thing that has changed for you that translates into value add and earning resources or earning income. The fundamental difference for post-secondary education, particularly career education, is getting into the field early. So I came out, I know I look young, but I came out in the 80s. That's when I came out of college. So it was still really college first, then go find that entry-level experience. The industry today is really asking for you to get experience as you're moving through. And the reason that that has value is that's going to be the difference when you get out of college, whether it's a certificate, whether it's a 2-year degree, whether it's a 4-year degree or a master's or a PhD, it's going to be a difference in your earning power. At the end of the day, you'll sit in a table interviewing, and they'll ask you, what do you have experience in? And what's your education in? And does that meet a good value pay for you in terms of salary? So it will be the difference between, as you get out of college or as you get out of your training, earning $15 an hour to earning $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. So one of the things that we definitely try to speak to is the ability for you to earn experience, get your degree, place yourself in a position where your earning power is going to be between our students are between $50,000 and about $100,000 a year. That's their earning power normally as they get out. So engineering transfer. So at Modesto Junior College, we're rebuilding the engineering program. We're working right now between our machining, our manufacturing, and our electronics programs, and our engineering programs to bring those back. However, at any university, you can complete the courses that allow you to transfer into an engineering program. In a community college, that's normally going to be your general education. So you're going to be following what's known as the IGETC pattern. And that'll be pretty standard in California. IGETC means that you'll be taking high-level math, sciences, and following that pattern to transfer into a university. And that's normally, you won't have a whole lot of room for a lot more during your studies. So the only room that you'll have is for about 3 to 4 classes in engineering. Typically, that'll be a CAD class. And this is true for just about any community college. Typically, it's going to be a CAD class that you're going to take. You're going to take a materials class, a circuit analysis class, and there may be some other flexibility. But that is typically the transfer pattern. A lot of science, pre-cal, calculus 1, calculus 2. That's your navigation through. And you have to move through all of those courses in order for you to transfer into any type of an engineering program. Questions on this in terms of engineering? So this is the typical model for an engineering transfer program. And it's going to be true in terms of its design. Sure. Very good question. Your name, sir? Landon asks, if you go through calculus in high school, do you have to retake calculus at the community college level? It depends on a couple of things. Is that calculus class an AP class? And is it accepted by the university or the college that you're going to? So work with your counselor at the high school to walk through that process. But it is possible. You can also have a dual enrollment class. Some schools have that, where that class is actually a college level class at your high school. So those are the two options. So it is a possibility, but if you don't have that, you're likely retaking it, and you're very likely moving in through the pre-Cal, Cal 1, Cal 2 sequence. Other questions? No? Okay. So we're going to jump from engineering to some of the fields. But before I do that, one of the things that we're doing at Modesto is we're moving into an applied engineering field, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we have a Q&A, during the Q&A process. So this is the picture of our machine shop. It's where we drill, cut, shave metal, both through manual lathes, vertical mills, or computer numerical systems. If you're going through a community college in your pattern to an engineering program, I highly recommend that if you have an opportunity to, take machining classes while you're moving through your engineering program. What you'll find when you go to a college like Cal Poly is that Cal Poly in their engineering programs has a machine shop, they have an electrical lab, they have an industrial mechanic lab where students are running experiments. So the earlier you get that exposure, the better it is for you as you move through through your education. Industry trades. So our industry trades programs is where you find the industrial electrical, the electromechanics, the automation tech programs. You also find the welding programs. You also find the machining and manufacturing programs in our area. So across our industry, particularly in Stanislaus County, but you also find them here in the Mother Lode, you have a variety of maintenance requests being needed. And that today has really changed. So when folks think about maintenance, are any of you taking, well, I think some of you are taking automotive shops, automotive classes? So those basic skills, those automotive mechanic skills can be transferred over to industrial mechanical skills into facilities. So when you have companies like Frito-Lay or packaging companies looking for mechanics or operators, those skill sets transfer over. They're just applied to a facility versus a car. So that's kind of our design in our skill and certificate and degree awards. Our most challenging of those three programs, I guess it depends on, but our most challenging in terms of math is our industrial electronics and automation technician programs. And those are the individuals that are running the programming behind facilities. Now I'm going to turn it over a little bit to Mr. Manuel Cunha, who has joined our team this year as a new professor, and he's out of industry, so we're really fortunate to have him. And he'll share a few words from his own experience and talk to you a little bit about the Welding Program.
Thank you, Pedro. How many of you know exactly what you're going to do when you get out of high school? Exactly, like you know where you're going, what you're doing, where you're going to be. All right, 4 of you, okay? A lot of you probably have questions, like where am I going to go? Well, I'll kind of tell you from example. When I got out of high school, I was just like most of you. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, I don't know. I like working with my hands, you know. Spent a lot of time in ag shop and auto shop and all those classes, and certainly seems like that would be my career, you know. Maybe I could go into something like that. Yeah, I was fortunate enough that I had a brother who was in the welding trades, and he was hammered on me. He's like, you're going to go into something trade related. You know, if you're not going to do anything, he at least said, but the number one thing is you're going to go to school to do it. Okay. Now, when you leave high school, you can certainly go out and get a welding job anywhere. You know, you can get a job working in a welding shop, and you'll probably do well, and you'll probably start out making pretty decent money if you have any type of skills and that kind of stuff. Okay. Or you can kind of go the route I went. Okay, the route I went, yeah, I went to work for a shop, but that shop I was lucky enough they allowed me to go to school. Okay, so I went to school, I hammered it out at night. You know, it was literally like every single night. I'd work all day, and then I'd go to school all night. And then I had some situations where I had to take a math class. Well, I could only take it during the day, and they were nice enough to let me take those math classes during the day. Okay, so I could kind of work my schedule around, which is really nice. But I'll tell you what I learned in going that route, going the college route, is yeah, I had a lot of friends. They went on into welding or trades or whatever it was, careers, and they started out making good money and they were doing a decent job. And then I did the same. But what you see in the long run when you start getting older is that those people are still down here in the trades, where people who went to school, they build up faster. Okay, so yeah, you might start off making, go out in a job, make $20 an hour as working in a welding shop or something like that. Okay, but you're probably going to make that $20 an hour for the next 10 years. Okay, when you go the route like I did when I'm talking about this, when you go into the college and you get your education and you learn a lot of that stuff, it excels you, okay? It gets you running faster. So yeah, you might have started out that $20, but in 10 years you're making $30 an hour, or you're making 35, you're making 40. So acceleration is different. What happens is you don't get in this kind of low spot where you don't know where to go, okay? You're kind of stuck. And you don't have the background or you don't have the education to excel you as you go through. So that's one thing I really push as far as getting into, whether it's welding or it's engineering or it's electronics or anything like that. Find something that you love to do, and that's probably the most important thing you're going to get out of this. Okay, when you're done at the end of the day, do you love doing what you want to do? Okay, and that's probably the number one thing. If you love welding, that's awesome. You know, I'm all for that, right? I love to see you guys come into the program and build on that. But at the end of the day, are you going to enjoy going home and you're going to be a happy person? That's what it comes down to. You know, if you choose welding as a career, you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life. Okay, and we want to make sure that you're happy in life and coming out of it. So kind of a little bit about our welding program. So we actually have kind of one of the largest welding programs in the state. And what are we, like 5th or 6th, somewhere around there in the state? We put through quite a few students. We actually just remodeled our lab, so we just went through, tore our entire lab out, put in all new welding stations, all new welders. Most of what we do is pretty on the high end type of stuff. We have another instructor, Eric Turner. He's actually pretty local here. He lives over in Sonora. He's one of the welding instructors too. He does a lot of, or familiar with welding, he does a lot of TIG welding. He's a huge, like big time, probably one of the top TIG welders I've ever met in my life. So you'll get a lot of that basis. You know, what we teach in that class, we start out with very beginning basic welding. Okay, stick welding, basic skills, kind of go on from there. And then we get into MIG welding, TIG welding, we get into design fabrication, sheet metal. Sheet metal is another big one. You know, you guys look around inside this room, you see all this ducting that's above your heads that delivers all the air conditioning and heating to this room. That's what sheet metal is. Okay, so that's another career opportunity. That's something else that you can get into. And I'll tell you right now, most of the students that come through the program have no problem finding jobs. Okay, and they're usually on the higher end. You know, Pedro was talking about, making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year. It's not too unusual. Okay, it's not too unusual. So kind of look at where you want to go and what you want to do and make a decision and stick with it. That's real important. It's real important as you go through there. So any questions? Everybody's good so far? Okay. So we also offer a pipe welding class, and we do certifications in our lab too. So everybody talks about welding. I'm a certified welder. I'm a certified welder. Well, what does that mean? Okay. Basically, it means that you have the skill set to where you can go out to a job site and they're going to put you in welding, and they're going to rely on the fact that you know what you're doing. Okay, that's what we pride ourselves in as instructors, is being able to put a student out there that knows what he's doing when he leaves our class. Okay, are you going to know everything when you leave MJC? No, are you? Probably not. Okay, there's still a lot of stuff to learn, but at least you're going to have the basics under your belt so that when you get out to the real world, it makes your life a little easier as you go through there. So, questions? Yes. Yes.
We have a question from Tyler. He's not necessarily interested in going to a 4-year college. So is there a way for him, because you guys are talking a lot about transferring, so his concern is, can he just go directly into machining, welding, and automotive work type classes without the general ed?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. When we talk about transfer, and transfer is a great thing. If you want to go on, I push that, go on. The more education you have under your belt, the better. But, does everybody go to MJC and transfer to Cal Poly or wherever? No, okay? Probably the majority of them don't, okay? But most of our students, they'll go through, either get an AS degree. That's what we really push for, is, at least get some sort of degree under your belt, or get a certification, okay? That's a big thing for us, is, you have these, for every so many classes you complete, you're gonna get a certification in that class. and we have programs set aside for that. So it's important that but no, we talk about transfer, and transfer is always kind of a big thing. We want people to transfer, but is that necessarily everybody's route? No. Okay, a lot of people will come out of like welding or machine shop, and they'll have either AS degree in welding or an AS degree in machining or industrial electronics, whatever it is, and they'll go on from there. So to answer that question, no, not necessarily. So you can just go to JC and just take the classes that you want and get your career straightened out from where you're going. So cool.
We have one more.
Okay.
This question is from Ben. Are there scholarships available for these types of classes?
There certainly is. There certainly is. And Pedro can probably talk a little bit more about this, but there's financial aid available, and we're quite fortunate that we live in a state where there's money available for people. I mean, if you literally want to go to school, we will find a way to finance it. Okay, this state has a lot of options, a lot of availables. There's scholarships. I've actually just got an email this morning from one of my students. She's applying for a scholarship. It's about a $1,500 grant from American Welding Society. Okay, so as I see that stuff, I'll paste it on my window, tell my students, hey, guys, go apply for this scholarship. It's important. Somebody's going to give you $1,500 for going to school. Take it, right? So there's a lot of monies out there available to go through. So you should never sit back and say, I can't afford to go to school, because that's not true. Okay, there's all sorts of monies and ways of working your way into school. So never fall back on that. So yes.
Yes, and just to kind of add to that, we do have a variety of very specific scholarships for students in the field, but we also work with students in terms of getting them out into industry. So whether you're working on campus, some of our students are working on our labs, getting that experience there because they feel more comfortable there, and we'll hire our students while they're going to school to get that experience, because it is sometimes stage and confidence, right? Kind of like, if I'm going to go out to a particular area, do I feel already comfortable? But we also work with students and with our local employers to place our students out in industry. So those services are also available. Again, because we're trying to kind of help our students move through the programs, but at the same time address the issues that they're dealing with at the current moment where they're in. They might need, particularly if you're traveling from here to Modesto, you might need gas money if you're driving your vehicle, and so to help with some of those expenses. So we do work with each of our individual students on that. With respects to the certificate question, most of our students pursue a certificate, and only about 5 to 10% are pursuing a degree immediately. And the reason for that is that most of our students with a certificate, which is a shorter study, can come out, enter the industry, and then continue on taking either online classes or taking classes as they can while they're working to finish off their degree.
Any other questions there? Or anybody questions here? Anything? I may? Yes.
So if a student was to do a certificate program in welding or automotive, any of your CTE areas, just for certificates so they can go out and work, how long are those programs usually? How long would that take them if they were a full-time student?
Sure. So again, in terms of pacing, that's a very good question. So the question was, how long does it take to move through that study? Interesting fact is most community college students are taking 6 to 8 units, which is 2 to 3 classes a semester. That's going to take you a little longer to get through. You can finish any one of our certificate programs within a year. What does that mean? Let me personalize this. So my son went through and started going to college, and then came home one day and said, "Hey, I like cinematography. I really like recording, social media, all that piece, right?" So he moved through, and then he transferred over to CSU Stanislaus, and he got done with that, and he said, "Hey, you know what, Dad? If it doesn't work out, what can I do? I'm a little bit concerned about earning money." So Carolyn Tucker here? Oh, okay. So what he said, well, I'm older, he's in his 20s, and I want to start earning money. And I go, well, if you give me 1 year, I'll have you at, you can easily be at 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000. So that's, I think, the big message. The big message is once you get out the certificate, the actual skill and content program that you're earning, you can come out, go through school fast in a year, and a year after you graduate, be completing your certificate and entering employment. Now, once you're entering employment, many of our students also are employed as professionals and continue to take classes because they're thinking about, when I'm 30, I want to be in management. When I'm 28, I want to move away from, maybe open up my opportunities. But again, several of our 1,800 students, 90% of them are pursuing certificates. They're coming in for the skills. Questions? No, we're good? Okay. Manuel, are you good? This next slide is what I thought the easiest way to tell you what your experience would be as an industrial arts student at MJC is to show you what our students experience. So we have this video. If you go to our website, we have several videos about the experiences you have in our classes. So we'll be playing the video next.
Well, the manufacturing program in general, I mean, here at the school we have a lot of areas of technical education, from welding to machine shop to electronics, kind of all those different areas. I specialize in the machine shop.
I chose Machine Tool Technology program because I enjoy machining and I enjoy creating parts and seeing how things are made and created.
Very interesting field to get into. It's very fun. The people here are great. The teacher's great. And it's a lot of fun. You're just getting dirty and working with your hands, and it's different from the normal college experience, I would say.
Best welding program out in California for a junior college. It's probably the best school I've been at.
I've learned a lot about welding, seeing as I didn't know anything from, the start. It's been really helpful, giving me a lot of confidence. Benefits the students by preparing us to enter the workforce. We already know all the beginnings of how to weld, how to set up all the machines and all that. And the employers, the same thing. They don't have to teach us how to do all that.
The Industrial Electronics program covers everything electrical, from the basics of electricity to wiring and more advanced topics like PLCs, programmable logic controllers.
This program is very professional, and that's what I like. That's a professional program. They care a lot about safety. All the tools that we use here, they're up to date.
I've learned a ton. I started out with no experience, a basic idea of how electricity worked, and now I'm an automation engineering specialist, which is a pretty nice title.
Most of the classes, especially for the industrial electric, are offered at night, so it's really convenient for a lot of people who work.
When you step in this field, you'll never be without a job. It's in really high demand. Electrical's growing. It's everything electrical, automation, control, and all that. It's in high demand. It's a good field to be in.
What I love about ag mechanics so far is just the hands-on skills that we're able to learn here in the shop. My experience here at MJC with the faculty has been phenomenal. I've been able to make lifelong connections in this industry.
Great tools, great equipment. It's just a great program altogether.
Well, students, when they complete this program, go into many careers. I have had students go into specializing in automotive diesel, construction, and agriculture. I've even had students go into on-highway truck, and I've had a couple go into yachts and trains.
You should consider manufacturing if you like to work with your hands, if you like to work with your mind. If you're not the desk job type of person, you can still do fulfilling work, you can still make good money, and you can accomplish something with your hands at the end of the day.
Thank you. So that's a really short video on one of several that we have on our website. But I'd invite you to go out and see our website at mjc.edu/CTE, because it gives you a lens as to what your experience would be like. And as much as if you're thinking about college as your next step, which I highly encourage you to do, get a feel for the campus. It's important that you connect with and you have that connection to where you want to go for that next step, that it works for you as well. And so whether it's, I know you're going to have speakers from Delta College coming out. So Delta College is another fantastic community college to think about in terms of career options. But whether it's a university, right before the holidays, I was over judging was the mechanical engineering program at Merced. UC Merced had a great engineering program. Go fill out the campuses. Go get a sense, do I have that comfort level? And if you're ever down in the Modesto area, come out and see us. We're happy to walk you through the labs and show you what the experience would be like. It is a decision, and you want to make that fit. You want to have that drive. We strive at Modesto Junior College, particularly in our CTE department, to work very individually with our students. And so we're sitting down, and we're sitting down with each of you, and we're saying, okay, where is your trajectory? You might be here for the program right now, but where is it that you want to be? What is it about your situation that needs to work for you to be successful here? And let's kind of work through that process. And that's what we're all about. We're about that particular step. Last slide that we have for today is the different options that are available at Modesto. We do have day, afternoon, and evening classes. Most of our classes are at night. Most of our classes are one night a week between 5 and 10:40 p.m. at night. So it's normally a lecture lab structure series. We do have online classes. So if you're looking at general education, you can do a lot of your education online. We have apprenticeship programs. What an apprenticeship program means is that we are already in agreement with employers that are recruiting actively to bring employees in as new employees that will move through their journey level status. And so as a part of their agreement, they go to school for 4 years. They rotate through their company, and they go to school with us. We are a summer, fall, and spring program. So we are offering classes year-round. About the lightest month that we have is the month of May, where we're in transition. But our students are going to classes year-round in terms of the process. The advantage of that is, again, we talked about speed and moving through a program. You can begin your program as early as June. When are we done with school here? You can begin on the following week in June with us and be done by April of the following year. And it's how we cue you into the program, but you need to let us know, and then we work with you to move you through. Question, sir? Well, each per class. Typically, if you're going aggressively through, you're going to be taking 4 to 5 classes. So you're going to be doing about 20 to 27 hours of instruction time. So if you're going full time, it is full time, in terms of the process. Now, if you're going full time to any college, any university, I wouldn't recommend more than 16 hours of work outside of school. It's very difficult to manage both. So just in terms of the framework. So for every 3 units that you take at a university or at a college, it normally requires about 2 hours a week to 3 hours a week of additional work for the typical student. May take you more, may take you a little less. So if you're taking 12 units, you have about 10 hours of reading time, homework time on your own to stay up with the class. Other questions? Did that answer your question? Sure. If you're doing it full-time, and it depends how you design it, but if you're doing it full-time, you're doing about 4 days a week. And within those 4 days, you're doing about 20 to 27 hours a week. Sure. So the online classes are available for general ed. We have some of our classes. When we start getting into the labs, it's very difficult for us to offer online classes. So there is not necessarily a higher acceptance rate. Community colleges are open to all. We serve everyone. But for industrial trade programs, you will have to come out to the labs to develop your skills. Yes.
Question coming through is, what types of science classes do you have to take if you're pursuing engineering?
Sure, absolutely. So you'll be taking meeting your natural science requirements. So it'll be you'll either be, depending on if you're attending a CSU or UC, you'll have to meet the natural science requirements for those particular areas, and it'll depend. Normally, you have a CSU agreement or a UC agreement with the colleges, but what you really want to do is once you come to colleges and you're moving through the process is what universities are you looking at? And some universities will have some very specific requirements to be met. So that would happen with counseling at the college. There's a question over here in the back. Sir. In terms of if you're doing an apprenticeship program? No. But it is, the question was asked, what kind of requirements are asked to apply to a school? And there aren't very many requirements to apply to the schools in terms of screening or checking. You just have to express an interest. Other questions? Okay, well, I want to thank you for your time, and hope you found the presentation useful. And if you have questions after the presentation, Mr. Kuhn and I will be here, and we'll stay around for some questions afterwards. Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys, if you have questions, please feel free to stay and come on down and ask those questions. If you don't have questions, you need to return to your study hall class. And thank you again for attending.